Ahoy there, and welcome back to Domance Dawn. I'm Luke, he, him, sometimes they, them, and I'm joined by my lovely and wonderful co host who doesn't have a third thing, Janine.
Hello, my name is Janine. My pronouns are she, they, and I have a third thing.
What is it?
I don't know. You led up with it, so I thought I had a third thing, I guess. I don't have a third thing to say.
I mean, not having a third thing to say could be your third thing, but then it is invalidated by you having a third thing, which is you not having a third thing. We've entered into a conundrum.
It's actually like the third thing that I have on my Instagram profile now. It's just serial girl liker, podcaster. I don't have a third thing to say. Like, I feel like I'm just like making it like my brand of just not having a thing to say after having two things to say.
Yeah, you're a firm believer in the rule of twos. You get it done in two, and you don't need to set up a punchline with those things.
I'm not responsible for your expectations.
I guess. I mean, you could be. Would
Or
you like to be
maybe I'm a fan of fill in the blanks.
Mad Libs?
Let you guys decide it. Put it to a vote. What's my third thing?
A person who's very turned on by middle-aged women.
Oh, you know what? That's a very good one. And there's some choice Simpson moments that we're going to talk about for sure.
Huh? Who? This well-mannered snake?
Not that well-mannered snake.
Oh, wait.
Satan, you're my lady. Stick me with your pitchfork thing.
Pitchfork thing is the strap.
Good.
Anyway, welcome back to Domance Dawn. What do we do here in this podcast?
We've gone for 47 episodes, not counting the SBSs so far, and we're back for episode 48. As my notes say, because I've never edited it, I have bad ideas, a bad brain. I'm somehow still alive, and I enjoy Simpsons and One Piece.
I look at that every single time in the show notes, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, this is the hell that I have sent you to, but also it's part of the template that I just copy and paste every time. And I have rough templates for like the next year of episodes. Assuming that we don't do movies and specials.
I really got myself into it now, guys. I'm stuck inside of a podcast that may never end.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also important to note the movie thing, because what would happen between the episodes we cover this week and next week is another One Piece movie comes out. It is specifically The Desert Princess and the Pirates, Adventures in Alabasta, which is a very condensed version of the Alabasta arc. The animation's interesting. We see a bit more of that developing towards the end of this current arc that we're in, said Luke, having watched all the episodes that we're going to be covering for the next 2 episodes of the podcast, not counting this one. So, if you want to know what I'm doing with my free time, it's that, writing comics, and working on scripts. Film scripts.
It's very cool.
I guess. It is a wonderful thing to be like, oh, I can do this. This is easy. And then, oh yeah, I've done this, and I feel like this is really good. And then reading like professional stuff and being like, oh, I've formatted this all wrong. And I posted the script for The Raven that I've been working on to a Reddit page for people to share their like film and movie strips, and the guy was like, "Yeah, this is too long. Cut it down by 50%." And a normal movie strip is like 90 to 100 pages, and mine was 102. And I was like, "Wait, no, I can't like lose 50 pages from this thing." And then just in changing formatting and rewriting scenes to flow better, I have lost like half of what I had written so far. So, but we are here to discuss episodes of The Simpsons and One Piece that ran between January 14th and March 11th of the year 2007. We are even more in the year 2007 than we were last time, Janine.
Yeah, wow, I don't even know what I'm doing at this point in 2007.
It would have been my first Christmas in Arcanum, because I had moved out there the previous year, I believe. And I believe this was when everybody was really into Heroes, and we had just gotten through the writer's strike. I could be wrong there. Time is a construct, and we only choose to adhere to the rules that it has, Janine. Are you aware of that?
You mean I can opt out?
Mm-hmm. You can.
Shit.
You must simply move your being to a higher state of consciousness, which is not me saying that I'm saying that you should do weed to transcend the burly bonds of time, but simply if you find
too bad. I already took the message in a bad way. I am a bad actor, always looking for another excuse. Sorry. I'm still gonna find a way to make you an enabler and party to this.
Yeah, okay. Well, I get high on life, and so that is why I will soon be transcending the early bounds of time. Simpsons episodes that we have this week. The first one is Revenge is a Dish Best Served 3 Times, which is the now kind of seasonal anthology episode where the family tries to stop Homer from taking revenge on the rich Texan. So we get 3 stories. There's the Count of Monte Fatso, where Mo, but that's spelled Meaux, frames Homer for treason, and he ends up with a life sentence on a prison island while Mo marries Marge. Burns, who is a fellow prisoner, helps Homer escape and then get treasure. Using it, Homer makes a new estate in 5 years as the Count of Monte Cristo, and then he tortures and murders Mo with an elaborate machine that cooks him into a crepe Suzette, and Marge and the kids actually mourn Mo, and it turns out that Homer's revenge cost him everything. And you know what's the weird thing about this episode, Janine?
What's that?
Bart and Lisa don't really age 5 years.
Huh, I guess they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all right. It's fine.
I don't know. I mean, like, there's a lot of fun French stuff, but like, God, it just feels like such a stretch, doesn't it?
In terms of
adaptation.
I mean, do you have big opinions on the Count of Monte Cristo? I mean, it is not as cool as the book sounds based on the Wikipedia page that I read. Because there, like, he keeps revealing himself to people and they either kill themselves or go insane. Which sounds pretty great. So I'm trying to find your origin point for your hot takes on the Count of Monte Fatso, Janine.
I mean, I don't think it's a hot take, you know?
Okay.
It just feels like a weird one to get the Simpsons treatment.
Because it's a famous story about revenge and an episode about why revenge is wrong. And I will hand it, I will see the point that as far as I could read from the Wikipedia article, the Count does not regret any of the revenge that he takes. And it's weird that it is like, oh, Homer has to regret taking revenge. Personally, I think revenge can be great. I'm a big fan. The second segment is Revenge of the Geeks, where the nerds create a Get Backinator, which allows Milhouse to get revenge on the bullies, but then Milhouse starts to go mad with power, getting revenge on everyone else at the school. But when he won't use it on Lisa, Nelson uses that moment to steal the glove and use it on Milhouse. Very generic.
It feels like it's so close to actually being canon, you know? Like if they were able to find a way that it was like a potato gun or something, like if it wasn't something that was just like an automatic bully machine, or if it was, if it wasn't so OP, like they could pass it off like as a Simpsons episode in itself.
I mean, I think they make a joke about it seeming something that could be a Treehouse of Horror story, which it also has that feel to it. But no, it works very well for the characters. It's a very simple plot. And then the last one is a Batman, the last one is a Bartman Begins, where Snake shoots Homer and Marge, leaving Bart an orphan, so Grandpa, who was previously the Crimson Cockatoo, trains him to fight crime, and he becomes Bartman, with a hyphen. After taking down all of the other criminals in the city, R.I.P. Poison Lenny, you served up great looks and you did not deserve that transphobia. The serpent appears.
That fucking sucked, dog.
Yeah, that joke was for transphobes. The serpent appears and it turns out to be Snake, who had killed Bart's parents, and then he kills Snake and he's like, oh, hey, now I don't need to get revenge and I have all this money. Everything is great for me. And then by the end of it, Homer and the rich Texan have patched things up. And then the credits for the episode make a mistake of calling General Grievous a droid when he is not a droid. He is a cyborg, Janine.
That's true. I mean, like, even if your only exposure to him was the fucking, like, third film, Revenge of the Sith, and you didn't, like, read any of the extra content, you see inside of that film that General Grievous is coughing, and you'll find out a reason if you look it up, like a real fan would.
Mm-hmm. He wouldn't listen to his podcast co-host about getting high on life. He had to just keep smoking that vape, had to keep smoking that ganja, and eventually had to replace parts with robot parts. It's a lesson we can all learn from.
If I could, like, have, like, 4 arms and just be hitting, like, 4 blunts at once. Now you're thinking about General Grievous holding 4 blunts, right?
Oh, no. I am just thinking about how you have loosely inspired a character in another project that I'm working on. And it's like, yeah, I probably need to put in the part where the trans Latina cyborg uses multiple robot arms to smoke multiple blunts. That's the trans representation that movies need. After that is Little Big Girl, where the B plot is that Lisa pretends to be Native American and gets attention, and then when she eventually reveals the truth, she gets forgiven, but she shouldn't be.
Yeah, not only that, but like it went on to kind of like posit this idea that there are so many people who claim Native American heritage like all the time that
Mm-hmm.
really aren't like just that.
It is super fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, because of the Are You Afraid of the Dark Universe podcast, I've been watching a lot more material with Indigenous American actors, and also I've watched season 2 of Rutherford Falls, R.I.P., and it's just like, yeah, there was nobody who wasn't white who also probably has not thought about, like, I feel like whoever wrote this has thought about seriously, if not has actually perpetrated pretending to be Native American for some sort of benefit. And it's just poorly handled every fucking step of the way. But then we have the A plot where Bart accidentally puts out a fire in the town and gets a driver's license from the mayor as a reward. The mayor! And then he has to help drive Homer around until he gets fed up with that. That's when he meets Darcy, and after dating her, she pressures him into marrying her. So he reveals that he is 10 years old, and she reveals that she is 16 and pregnant. And so they decide to go to Utah to get married. And luckily, that's when Darcy's parents show up to stop them. They reveal that Darcy's mom is also pregnant, and so they're going to just decide to pretend that her mom has twins. It's fucking weird. It's just I'm looking up who wrote this one and what else they have done, because oh yeah, this would be written by a person who worked on My Super Ex-Girlfriend, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Thor: The Dark World. R.I.P. Don Payne, but that
Wow.
was, you've written some really wild ones.
Knowing that it was in the same category as My Super Ex-Girlfriend is just blowing my mind, because thinking about it, yeah, it did feel like it kind of like hit some of those beats, but also like, wow, what a situation to just kind of shoehorn Bart into somehow.
Mm-hmm. He was also the writer on the Scary Tales Can Come True Treehouse of Horror segment with the Hansel and Gretel, Insane Clown Poppy, where we get Sophie. Like, some weird ones that stick out. Like, a few of them are decent, but yeah, this one was just a weird one. On the other hand, we get to see North Haverbrook. Big ups to all you North Haverbrook truthers out there. They've come back from the monorail disaster. But yeah, what a weird episode. What a weird episode.
Yeah. Like, to be honest, it feels like it didn't really happen. Like, canon is very fast and loose in Springfield.
No, they fucked it up, Janine. They specifically, in the most recent new episode of The Simpsons, said, hey, this is the only canonical episode of The Simpsons.
Well, shit.
And then they made one of the most poorly structured and written episodes that I recall ever seeing. I actually wrote an article about it because it just got me so frustrated with the choices that it made and what it didn't handle properly. I wrote an article, Janine. An article.
I'm a little bit intimidated by that.
Yeah, look at Luke. He's always writing words. Writing words for podcasts, writing words for work. But when will he write the words to soothe his savage soul? After that, we had Springfield Up, where a documentarian took footage of Springfield residents as kids and then as adults. So we get to see how Wiggum wanted to be an officer. And then he used his gun massage skills to become the chief of police. Homer wanted to be rich, and he went nowhere until he became a millionaire with a condiment pen. Professor Frank, as a child, wanted to be a rocket scientist, but now as an adult, he wants to meet girls, and so he goes back in time to change his own past, but gets killed. Eleanor wanted to be a lawyer and a doctor, became both, and then got burnt out and became the crazy cat lady, which, even though I think I've seen this one before, it surprised me. It was like, oh, who is this? Oh.
Yeah, that was exactly like my reaction journey too.
It achieves the parts that it wants, but it makes some choices. And then Marge wanted to be a photographer and gave up on her dreams. And then it turns out that Homer was just pretending to be rich, and they're hanging out at Mr. Burns' summer home. And Homer starts running away until he's finally confronted and confesses that he feels bad because his life isn't going anywhere. And so Marge stands up for him, and Declan goes to share footage of all the people who appreciate Homer for who he is. And then we get a great song.
Satan, you're my lady. Stick me with your pitchfork thing.
Satan, you're my lady. Stick me with your pitchfork thing. It's a bop.
It is. I don't know what it means.
Satan is a hot, sexy devil lady. And if you saw a hot, sexy devil lady with a pitchfork, would you, Janine,
A person who's very turned on by middle-aged women.
want to be stuck by her pitchfork thing?
Jesus Christ. I gave you too much when I gave you that sound clip.
My biggest problem is that I feel like they kind of abandon part of the documentary idea halfway through, which I kind of wish it would have been either less of the documentary or more of the documentary.
I would have appreciated it if they had the guts to just change the entire format and just have the entire episode in the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, either you fully commit to it or you make it less of a thing and it's just part of an Act 1 structure.
You know, it was so jarring, the switch over as well, because like it took me a second to be like, oh, they're just going regular normal episode now. There's no more filming of the documentary. I'm not going to expect a cutaway because they did a lot of cutaways. I mean, I almost thought about counting like how many, but you know, you don't want to give yourself more work than you have. Unless you're Luke, then you kind of do.
I do the work because once the work stops, the voices come.
Oh my god.
Don't you hear the voices, Janine?
Let's talk about the next episode.
I could hear them right now.
Oh my god. Then we
They're
better
saying-
talk about the next episode.
This well-mannered snake?
Not that one. Yokel chords.
Oh, Yokel Chords, where Bart invents Dark Stanley, which scares all the kids. That way he can steal their lunches. But then when the kids run out of the school, the Spuckler kids get rounded up by groundskeeper Willie on accident. Skinner doesn't want them going to the school because they might bring the test scores down. And when Lisa finds out about this, she threatens to tell authorities who have scruples. And so she gets to become the tutor for the Spucklers. It's another semi-musical one. Like, it's sort of The Sound of Music, but not quite. So she takes them to experience culture in the city, and then Krusty decides to exploit them as the Spuckler family singers, with Cletus blowing all the money that they make. Lisa eventually gets Brandine back from Iraq, and she gets them out of the contract with Krusty. Bart, meanwhile, goes to a psychiatrist who studies him while he plays video games, and as they sort of build this feeling of trust, he starts expressing actual feelings, but then runs out of sessions that the school is willing to pay for, and he feels abandoned. Marge is worried about Bart because he keeps trying to talk to like everybody and everything to understand his issues, and so she pays for him to go. Bart realizes that he is acting out just to help his family stay together and feels satisfied, and then it turns out that his psychiatrist misses Bart because he reminds her of her child who was killed by the actual Dark Stanley.
To be honest, I was going to fucking hate the ending if they had some sort of bullshit where this, like, hot psychiatrist was going after Bart. Like, if something like that
Yeah.
was, like, kind of like the ending, like, I would have just fucking hated that joke. But the way they turned it around and brought it back to Dark Stanley, like, it was just enough of a hit, man.
Yeah, it raises enough questions. Well, I was also like, wait, are they making this psychiatrist, who I will also agree is a hot psychiatrist, voiced by Meg Ryan, attracted to Bart? No, she's literally in mourning for her child, and what a wild choice.
Yeah.
Also, the Dark Stanley segment fucks. Like,
Yes.
that animation, that Edgar Gorey style, or / Charles Adams style, excellent.
I think that both plots could have very well been their own episodes. It feels like that they did at least approach the idea of a Sound of Music, just full on musical episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of maybe just stuck it in with this other plot. But I mean, it feels like both of them could just like have been drawn out just like a little bit more. I don't know if they would have enough to be their own episodes, but like it feels like they could have.
I feel like they could have, like, the Spuckler plot could have like had a few more musical numbers like the other Lisa musical episodes, and I feel like they could have put on like any other B plot for Bart and the Dark Stanley stuff, where it's him kind of struggling to deal with his emotions and expressing himself. Yeah, it is surprising that it works as well as it does, and I think it might be the best episode out of the ones that we watched for this episode, but we got one more to discuss. Romeo and Juliet. Homer tries to declare bankruptcy after finishing The Basement and ends up getting a financial officer assigned to supervise his spending, and so to save money, he kicks Grandpa out of the retirement castle. Grandpa and Selma end up making out and then go on a date. Homer and Patty team up to break them up by pretending to be each other and making out, but they get caught by both Grandma and Selma, and then Grandpa proposes marriage. Selma accepts, but then Grandpa, after the wedding, gets confused by wedding gifts and starts a fire on accident, and Selma's just like, oh, I can't stay married because he's too old and it's messing with my career. I think I was honestly kind of fading out at this one. The B plot, though, was great. The B plot is Bart and Lisa realize that they can order a bunch of free boxes and make a massive box fort, and then they get caught, and the package carriers attack them in an epic battle, but then after they win the battle, they get bored and destroy the fort.
There's a fucking dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what I love is that they commit to it so much and just don't explain it. And you know, like, you know, just like the fucking Grungler or whatever the fuck. You know, like
The Grumple?
yeah, the Grumple, like, you know, it'll give you like those questions of like what the fuck, but and like never explain it. And like that just makes it so much better. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens throughout this episode. But Homer and Patty making out, in order to make out with each other, they have these visualization helpers, and both of them have very, very good tastes.
It was interesting. All right, well, new characters that we can use include Poison Lenny, International Harvester Spuckler, Ben and Ken the Straight Magic Men, Reverend Racist, Steven Sondheim, Man in the Iron Mask, the Count of Monte Cristo, Angel Rod and Angel Todd, North Haverbrook Comic Book Guy, Nautical Stew, Salvador Dali, and Esteban de la Sexface, along with others.
The Toker.
The Diddler.
Oh my god, I was hoping you didn't say the Diddler. Oh, wow.
Don't forget, writer James Patterson, who Marge is horny for. But we are finally up to our One Piece episodes. We are going to be covering episodes 293 through 300. Oh, we can also use Jim Carrey now. Darn, if only we hadn't cast Frankie already. No, Jim Carrey had been mentioned but never seen.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow.
Jim Carrey unlock. These episodes include Bubble User Khalifa. Nami draws near to the soap's trap.
The resounding bad news. The Buster Call is invoked.
5 Namis. Counterattack with the Mirage.
Nami's determination. Shoot the rampaging chopper.
Hunter Sanji appears. Elegy, Lying Wolf.
The scorching kick. Sanji's full course footwork.
The drawn swords, fierce attack. Zoro vs. Kaku, powerful slash, showdown.
Zoro the fierce god. The incarnation of Asura revealed by his soul.
Yeah, so because we were going to be hitting episode 300, I thought it would be fun to look at where we were at episodes 100 and 200. Episode 100, which we covered in episode 16 of our podcast, was where we find out about Vivi's connection to Koza. Episode 200, it was where Shepard gets thrown into jail with the Straw Hats as part of G8.
Wait, you mean Don Coriando?
Condoriano.
Yes.
Yes. It's been 1 week. Yes.
We'll never forget you, Condoriano.
We'll never forget you, Con di Oriano. Previously, Chopper had transformed into a massive beast by taking a third Rumble Ball in a row in his fight with Kumadori, who he defeated, but now he is stuck in a rampage as a giant monster. Meanwhile, Frankie climbs out of a hole where he had defeated Fukuro in, and then realizes that Khalifa, the secretary, still has a potential key for Sogeking and Zoro to deliver to save Robin. And that is when Frankie sees the big chopper yeet Kumadori and then start climbing the tower. How do you feel about Big Chopper?
Man, I like just having just like a big monster sometimes. And if you would have made me guess which Straw Hat would have like a huge hulking like terrible kill mode, I would have probably guessed Frankie. But the fact that it's Chopper that has it, sweet and innocent Chopper, just makes it so much more cooler.
I mean, Frankie still has time. Frankie can still get messed up.
Sure, yeah. Everybody get messed up, please.
I mean, Frankie is a cyborg. Do you assume that he does not have more robots at his disposal?
I assume so very little because like he's also a cyborg that runs on soda pop. So it's like they're playing with the fabric of everything so much.
Cotton? No, that's the fabric of our lives. Anyways, Robin hears Chopper climbing the tower and stops only for Spandam to remind her that she is helpless, and that is when Luffy reaches them and Rob Lucci's like, alright, I'm going to fight you in this room. Spandam, you keep taking Robin with you. And so we got a big fight of brewing. Meanwhile, in Khalifa's washroom, it's horny time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Did someone accidentally walk into you while you're watching this one?
Oh man, that would have been detrimental. I'm very, very lucky that I was able to catch it when everybody else was very asleep. So I was able to hide my shame in the cover of The Darkest Night.
Nice. So yeah, it's horny, and it's also funny that our Khalifa that we cast is a robot.
Yeah, I mean like that's part of the game, really. Is that like finding out for me for the first time where these casting choices will take us.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm sure there have been a couple of times where you've had a reminder of like who we casted as what at a particular point, you know?
Yeah, when you get to this episode, Wombat, you reminded me about who we cast as Garp today. So you could look back in your records and say, oh, this was that episode. Hello, Wombat. Thank you for listening. Yeah, it's times. It's times. So Nami got weakened by Khalifa's powers at first, but then Nami summoned a storm cloud to hit her with thunder, but Khalifa tossed up a soap shield where it's literally just a fucking bar of soap. And that is when Nami figured out that Khalifa has the bubble fruit, which allows her to wash away strength. Sure, I guess. Yeah.
Who knows how any of this shit works? The smooth fruit makes nothing hit, like even attacks. You know, that's
certain attacks. And I mean, we get canonical Nami being horny for another lady.
I mean, I enjoy that.
Outside, the Marines are starting to get bolstered as the Giants, the Shipwrights, and the Frankie family are captured and tied up. I hope nothing bad happens to them. Meanwhile, Spandam goes to call in for a check-in with the troops, but that's when he accidentally makes the Buster call. And then, without an ability to take it back, he accidentally announces that he triggered it over the intercom across Innie's lobby, and then he keeps ranting and tries to justify his actions, all the while he's unaware that he and Robin are still on the hot mic, and Spondum considers everyone else a justifiable sacrifice. And that is when he finally realizes he's on a hot mic, tries to pretend to be Luffy, and then hangs up. And that is when all the Marines start to freak out. They leave their captives behind, and Spondum refuses to cancel the Buster Call officially because he needs to hand over Robin so he can earn a promotion.
I remember before this moment, before watching this, that I was messaging you and talking about the grim possibility if they ever had called a Buster Call, and I've forgotten like how much I made it seem like something that would like never happen or rarely happen, and then to find out that, oh no, it's just gonna happen, and it's gonna be on accident, and it's gonna be the dumbest thing ever. And yes, that's right, the one that you remember, the last one that ever happened, yeah, you know how horrible and terrible that is. Doesn't change it. It's gonna happen now. That's the situation that everybody is suddenly in. And damn, that knocked me like straight off my feet, and I feel so happy that like I didn't have like a spoiler for that. That it's genuinely a One Piece moment that like, ooh, the impact.
One Piece. Yeah, it's... As I told you it was going to happen. I hinted.
Yeah, I mean...
Felt good. So, meanwhile, Zoro and Sogeking, who are still handcuffed together, keep fighting Kaku and Jabra, who are in the midst of the battle, destroying more of the building. That is when Zoro inspires Sogeking to work as his blade, Nosestorm, but he really uses him as a lure to bring the enemies in closer, which, great teamwork. Just wonderful teamwork. Back in the bathroom, Nami gets hit with bubbles all over her body, cleaning her and leaving her powerless, but she starts creating mirages. Moments before Chopper appears, breaking through the walls, Chopper's destruction leads to him tossing a bathtub out of the room, soaking the previously washed Sanji. And then Chopper vanishes to rampage elsewhere, and that is when Nami realizes when she gets wet, her powers come back, and so she goes to wash off more. Yeah. And she starts summoning more mirages, the Five Fates, and is able to start hitting Khalifa until Khalifa attacks with a wave, ending the illusion, before hitting Nami with a finger pistol. But this was all part of Nami's plan, where she got Khalifa lined up for another Thunderlance, which fries her. And that is when Frankie finds Nami while he's climbing up the tower. They connect on what's going on with Chopper, and Frankie gets an idea. Well, Nami goes to thoroughly investigate Khalifa for her key. Yeah. And Janine?
Yeah.
You know what you are?
What?
Satan, you're my lady. Stick me with your pitchfork thing.
Wow. I wonder if that was the one you wanted to hit.
For comedy purposes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like, as far as I remember, that is the horniest One Piece battle. And it would have been amazing to see how 4Kids would have censored it. So, Kaku and Jabra resume their attack, moving to kill Zoro and Sogeking finally, which is when Chopper breaks into the room, followed by Frankie, who hits Chopper. That way he can knock him out off the tower into the sea. The blast works, and Frankie jumps down to save Chopper before Nami appears to let them know that she knows what's going on. And Nami is finally able to release Zoro and Usopp from their handcuffs. Sorry, Zoro and Sogeking. You never see him in the same place, Janine.
Of course, no, of course.
Robin tries to run from Spandam, so he throws his sword/elephant Funkfried at her, knocking her down. Frankie, after saving Chopper, runs into Chimney and Gonbei, who show him the tunnel where they had led Luffy, where Granny Kokoro is just hanging out and drinking. And Frankie leaves Chopper with them while he runs ahead with the keys to Robin. Meanwhile, finally freed, Zoro faces Kaku while Sogeking and Nami hide. But Kaku's flexibility makes him dangerous. Jabra, meanwhile, pretends to watch Zoro and Kaku fighting because he really doesn't want Robin to get hurt. And he even offers to give Sogeking and Nami his key, but this is actually a trick, and he ends up smashing Sogeking, who goes for the key into the wall. When he gets back up, Jabra is easily able to avoid his attacks before he beats Sogeking again. Nami goes to try and save him, but she gets caught up in his attack as well. But before she gets hit, Sanji, who is now revitalized, comes in. Good Sanji times. Sogeking apologizes for not being able to help with this battle, and Sanji has him look at the gates of justice, which are beginning to open. Elsewhere, Polly has worked to untie everybody because he just wrapped himself with his own ropes and pretended to be tied up. And so with everyone free, they start looking for a way to escape the island before the Buster Call. Sanji tells Sogeking that there is one thing that only he can do before he gets knocked back. Jabra then goes after Nami and Usopp, but Sanji returns, and it turns out that he and Jabra are pretty much equals in power. Jabra then lies about being Robin's older brother to try and trick Sanji, who doesn't believe it. And then Sanji uses his new Diable Jambe move, where he makes his foot really hot by spinning around a lot, and it is able to cut through Jabra's defenses, and they earn another key. How you feel about that Jabra fight?
Man, what I love probably the most about it is that the visualization of being Robin's brother was not the man we saw previous, but just like the giant wolf man. Because Sanji doesn't have like the frame of reference of who that guy was before getting wolfed up. Like that's just, it's such a ridiculous notion, and I was just like, you know,
Beautiful.
I was laughing my head off like already, but like just that it was like Sanji wouldn't fall for it. Zoro would maybe, but and then the ending too. Sanji can be cool as hell sometimes. Dorky as hell others, but when it's time for him to be cool, he can be cool.
Yeah. Like, he has his code, and it is a weakness, but like, it makes him a balanced character. As Zoro and Kaku keep fighting, the tower continues to shift, while Sanji finds the arrows that Chimney left for everyone, directing them to the secret underground passage. Spandam finally reaches the Bridge of Hesitation with Robin, and when she tries to fight against him, he just keeps gloating. Spandam's an asshole.
Yeah, they don't need to really press in how much Spandam sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I
They do.
mean, They do.
Yeah, like, he is not just a cruel person or a coward. He's like cruel and a coward and greedy, and he is just every sort of shitty.
Yeah, and he doesn't shut up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna say the thing that's going to make you, in real life, mad at an anime character.
Hell yeah. The Marine ships, meanwhile, are 10 minutes away from their attack, and Frankie reaches the room where Luffy and Rob Lucci are fighting, and Luffy tells Frankie to go after Robin and fights to give Frankie an opening. Zoro, meanwhile, decides to use his two-sword style Nigiri, and Kaku uses his power to turn into a cube and releases multiple slashes into the air, which badly cut up Zoro. Zoro calls him out to just actually use a blade, and well, Kaku uses his new machine, or his new ability, Pasta Machine, that allows him to control the length of his limbs. That is when he also starts to use swords. Zoro goes on to the defensive until Kaku insults Robin, and Zoro uses his new 9-sword style Ashura technique, and he takes out Kaku, and then, for Polly's sake, tells Kaku that all of them are fired. And Kaku hands over his key before he falls unconscious. Sanji then returns to check on Zoro and takes that last key. Meanwhile, the dock workers, the Frankie family, and Kashi, Oimo, Sodom, and Gamora have all fallen back. The Bridge of Hesitation connects, and Spondum waits for people to celebrate his victory. And Robin makes one final attempt to try and run away. Spondum assaults her again, tries to pull her off, and Robin is literally just biting onto a bridge so she can't be pulled off, which is fucking heartbreaking and intense. Frankie, meanwhile, back in the room with Rob Lucci, hits him with the same move that he had used to take out Fukuro, but it has no effect. So Luffy has to activate Gear 2 again, and his punch is able to hurt Lucci, knocking him back. But Frankie still can't go on because that is when Rob Lucci transforms into his Zoan form, and the fight's really going to get wild, Janine. It's going to get big. And yeah, that's where we got a One Piece this week.
No names to pair up this time, but a whole lot of action.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we have a whole bunch. We have 5 names next week, and what I'm putting out is if we can get 50 followers on Blue Sky, I will open up all of those names for like open suggestions. None of them are super big, but I know some people probably have faves in there. So that is my offer. Get people to follow Blue Sky, share the podcast, just talk about One Piece and be like, oh yeah, I love this show. Because really, I have sold more people on this show by just saying, hey, do you like One Piece? Do you like The Simpsons? Here's a podcast that I do. It's very silly.
And also, if you're thinking, oh, but I don't have a Blue Sky account, they have opened up Blue Sky to everybody. So you can just make an account there and enjoy a better experience than you would at a certain former bird current letter app. I mean, it's worth a shot. And if you're making an account anyway, you should follow us.
Yeah. And even if we just hit a few higher levels and don't get it fully to 50, I will open up additional folks in the next episode. Janine, where can you be found online?
I have another podcast. I keep on forgetting to mention here, but I'm also doing another podcast called Wrestle Girlies, where me and my friend Flighty Butler sit down and talk about our favorite things in wrestling going on. You'd also be able to find me online, on Twitter. I know, I'm getting out of there. And probably Tumblr too. Janine Juliet. Also Janine Juliet at Blue Sky. Follow me there. Give me more reason to go there. And I don't know, maybe co-host soon. So social media is so weird, and I crave the days of just going back to websites, using my computer for the internet and not my phone, and using bookmarks instead of just having open tabs to several things and having my main form of communications run through apps. Remember forum boards? We need
Yeah.
to go back. We need a forum board.
But the guy who hosted VGCat, who created VGCats, shut down his forum when he found out that most of the people on the forum didn't like him and didn't like the comic anymore. True story. That's what happened to one of the first forums that I joined and was on for like a decade. If you want to find me online, good luck. I'm not telling you cops where I am. You can find me on Twitter you can find me on most places at Coltreg, KOL, I will also put up a link to that article I wrote about The Simpsons, and Frankenstein's Monster was the name of the episode. And yeah, otherwise, I have a Patreon where you can give me money, and that is a way that you can listen to episodes of the show first. And honestly, I am not making enough money to like actively put it towards this show. It just goes towards other creatives who I want to support. And yeah, but I would love if I was not solely just pumping money into the show. So if you can spare some hard-earned lucre, that would be great. Also, speaking of people who get money out of the show, Mike Patton is our wonderful cover artist, who you can find most places online at Patton Pending, PattenPending. He does not use AI, and he's a hell of a guy, a lazy river kind of guy, if you want to be specific. Go follow him, like all of the posts that he makes where he shares the work. Sometimes his mom leaves comments on the Instagram, and it is delightful. Domance Dawn updates every other week, and we'll be back in 2 more weeks for episode 49, when the fighting gets real, the stakes get higher, and just a whole bunch of people get killed. We'll see you then. Oh, we had a question. We had a question from our Discord. Janine, are you ready for a question? Last minute that only people who actually listen to these segments get to hear.
Sure, yeah, hit me with it.
King Atticus wanted to know, if provided the opportunity to ask any question to a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, who would you choose and what would your question be?
I mean, who do I ask to spit on me, Robin or Nami? I don't know. I mean, I might have to come back on that one.
I'd ask Sanji if he's willing to eat pussy. We'll see you in 2 more weeks. Peace.